Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're living through this massive transformation right now. And to be honest, the story we've all been sold, it's just not the whole truth. Today, we're going to uncover this strange, almost invisible reality that's emerging right beneath all this national panic over artificial intelligence. For months, they've been telling America that AI is going to step in, destroy jobs, and leave millions totally behind. But look at what we're actually seeing on the ground. It's wildly different. We're actually witnessing one of the largest wealth accelerations in modern history. So the big truth you need to grab onto right from the start is this. AI isn't replacing you, it's amplifying you. I mean, just look at the contrast here. The media panic is hyper-focused on mass layoffs and the end of human work. But when you look at the hidden reality, the actual data that economists and Wall Street analysts are uncovering, it's a completely different era. We're talking economic amplification, scalable intelligence, and ordinary Americans finding ways to earn way more than they ever thought possible. Let's throw some hard numbers at this, because the data is fascinating. According to the St. Louis Federal Reserve, daily AI users are saving 4 or more hours every single week. Literally 4 hours. That's essentially half a workday just handed right back to you, ready to be used however you see fit. And that brilliantly highlights the leverage we're talking about here. Workers who actively use generative AI are seeing productivity gains of roughly 33% for every single hour they use it. Picture two people at the exact same desk, same salary, same degree. But one of them finishes tasks, writes reports, and learns new skills a third faster just by partnering with AI. In our economy, that kind of speed is an absolute game changer. Let's look at part 1, the currency of time and exhaustion. To really get why these numbers are so explosive, we have to look at the psychological state of the American worker right now. Since the late 70s, workers have been trapped in this brutal cycle. Productivity keeps going up, but wages stay flat. Everyone is just chronically exhausted. So AI matters not because robots are suddenly conscious. It matters because it acts as a massive time compressor. Time compression takes a totally overwhelmed worker's effort and flips it directly into financial leverage. In a society where time is our most valuable currency, that is huge. You can actually see this shift playing out right now on platforms like Upwork and Fiverr. Freelancers aren't really selling their hours anymore, they're selling immediate outcomes. Think about it. In the old economy, you sold your time for an hourly wage, which, let's be real, usually just led to permanent burnout. But in the AI economy, rapid workflows mean you sell a finished product. It creates scalable income without draining every waking hour of your life. Moving right along to part 2, skill compression and the physical boom. This ties perfectly into what researchers at MIT and Harvard are calling skill compression. Look at this jump. A junior employee's output basically leaps up to meet mid or even senior level work quality just with AI assistance. It's wild. An entry-level marketer is suddenly analyzing data like a pro. A junior copywriter is drafting like someone with a decade of experience. This is fundamentally rewiring the psychology of ambition in America, because suddenly everyday people feel like they can compete with institutions that used to feel totally untouchable. Because of this massive shift, we're seeing a brand new class of worker, the AI operator. These aren't necessarily coders. They're just people who know how to direct this intelligence efficiently. And get this, workers with advanced AI skills are now commanding wage premiums reported to exceed 50% compared to their peers. 50%. For families trying to desperately find some financial stability, a number like that hits like absolute electricity. But here's a crucial point we can't ignore. AI isn't just floating around in the digital ether. It has a massive physical footprint. We're talking giant data centers, upgraded electrical grids, complex cooling systems, fiber networks, and endless construction projects. Every digital revolution still needs human hands behind the screen. We need electricians, HVAC techs, engineers, and construction crews to actually build the whole shebang. To put that into perspective, Goldman Sachs research shows AI-driven infrastructure has already added over 216,000 jobs. That is an unexpected, massive boom for blue-collar America. It absolutely proves that this future doesn't just belong to tech elites and Silicon Valley programmers. Honestly, America has always reinvented wealth through these big technological shifts. We cycle from fear to opportunity to inequality and eventually to transformation. We saw it with the railroads in the 1860s, factories in the 1900s, cars in the 20s, and the internet in the 90s. Now, in the 2020s, it's artificial intelligence. And this cycle, it might just be the fastest one we've ever experienced. The scale of this is literally staggering. Economic models estimate that aggressive AI adoption could inject roughly $2.48 trillion into the US GDP by 2030. Yes, that is trillion with a T. This is going to spark a massive redistribution of productivity. And as we all know, productivity eventually redistributes power. So let's turn to part 3, the shadow of amplification. Look, every tech revolution has its winners, but it also has its casualties. And that brings us to the darker reality of this massive wealth shift. As AI aggressively rewards the people who adapt, the really terrifying question hanging over the country is, who gets left behind? If you don't have the education, the fast internet, or the flexibility to learn, you risk falling behind economically at a frightening speed. This is creating what we can call the anxiety of irrelevance. Imagine the psychological devastation of having decades of your hard-earned human expertise suddenly compressed into a few software prompts. Because work and income are so deeply tied to our self-worth in America, AI isn't just disrupting the economy, it is brutally disrupting the human ego. History warns us that technology just amplifies whatever human systems are already in place. So we're watching this stark adaptability divide form in real time. On one side, you have the amplified. They're tech-literate, flexible, curious, and they're seeing incredible upward mobility. On the other side, the left behind are stuck with rigid skills they feel totally disconnected, and they're really going to struggle to adapt to these new, highly fluid careers. Yet, even with all those systemic fears, there's a really optimistic trend right now. The average side hustle income has climbed to nearly $900 a month. Ordinary Americans are using AI to scale their own micro-businesses and just reclaim their momentum. They're automating services, generating content, and most importantly, they're finding hope. And you know what? Hope spreads socially. Which leads us to part 4, America's ultimate choice. We are genuinely at a historical crossroads because, let's be honest, more money alone isn't going to fix the deep emotional exhaustion, loneliness, and burnout consuming modern life. We have a choice between two paths. Path A is an economy of endless optimization, humans basically acting like machines in an accelerated hustle culture. But Path B, that's a future where we actually let AI handle the repetitive grind while we reclaim our humanity, restore our relationships, and find some purpose way beyond just our economic output. As everyday people suddenly get their hands on powers that used to be locked up inside massive corporations, we have to ask ourselves, is AI creating the biggest economic opportunity of the century, or is it just creating an even deeper divide? So I'll leave you with this one deeply personal question to think about as you navigate this new era. What kind of life do you want this technology to create for you? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, stay curious.